Hey everybody, my name is Dietrich and I'm a sound designer out of Austin, Texas. I was on LinkedIn the other day and I saw that Penguin Grenade posted a really dope sound design contest to make a creature sound using only things that you recorded yourself, and I wanted to give it a shot. All right, so the first thing that I want to jump into is my source recordings because that's kind of where this all started. So I'll throw a picture up on the screen really quick of some different things I recorded, and I also videoed a little montage here, which I'll play for you. All right, so a few things that were not in that montage that I wanted to show as well was just some impacts that I recorded, which sounds like this. This is me hitting my washer, as well as a door. I also recorded some jean jacket whooshes, just whooshing it in front of the mic. And I did some noises with my mouth, so I tried to sound like a zombie, as well as just some kind of disgusting sounds, and then I also just screamed as loud as I could. I will not suggest you to any more of that. That did hurt my voice when I did it, by the way. I also just blew into the mic. So all I would do is take something from my list here. Like one thing that I got a lot of use out of was this like rubber cover that my girlfriend uses. By itself, it sounds like this. It's a little loud. By itself, it sounds like this. And then all I would do is take the different samples like that and then just simply pitch it down in Reaper. And you can see doing that, you get all sorts of variety. The first thing to do whenever making creature sounds, which I like to do, is get a reference to start with. For this one, I actually went with one of my favorite monsters from Monster Hunter World, which is the final boss, which is the Xeno'jiiva. Looks like this. So just taking inspiration from his size, a little bit of what he looks like, to make the sound itself. I prefer to do as little processing as I can because I think it sounds a lot more natural if you don't have too much processing, especially in um, the idling and lower volume and more subtle sounds. So to jump into all the idling sounds here, I'm just going to go through and kind of I categorize them by what I recorded, which I think is going to be the easiest way to show you. So for the first idling sound, it sounds like this. And just to go through that first beginning part, I'll solo all of these first layers here, which is just me breathing. And then a little bit of this leather bag for texture. The rubber tire sound. And again, all this is just something I recorded and then pitched down and thought sounded cool. So this by itself, you can see I pitched it down actually -32. So if I pitch this back up to its normal rate, it just sounds like this, which is kind of funny. But I just need a little bit of that lower. So moving through the rest of it quickly, we have a little bit more of the vocalization, which comes from the The rubber cover, really cool sounding. Again, more of that rubber cover. Sounds like it's laughing a little bit. Some more like the zombie noises that I made myself. I have here the spoon, which is just me rubbing that spoon from the video. And I did add a little bit of effects to this one. Without the effects, it sounds like this. I just put on R bass to give it some more bass. Actually, it's more kind of like towards the mid side, I guess. Still bass, but and then Saturn to kind of give it a little bit more of that mid presence. And then moving on past that, we have some. That is my human mouth sound, which sounds really disgusting. It sort of kind of adds that wet characteristic. Same thing over here. Again, that sound is just me and my voice, which pitched up sounds like this. Sick. Really, really good. And then leather bag for texture, which is right here. Again, that's just the leather bag. You can kind of hear it there. And then again, for the vocalizations itself, it's just more of that rubber cover. Pitch down, there's no processing on this outside of the reverb that I have it running through. Should have mentioned that earlier. The duck call, me rubbing the dead cat from my microphone. More mouth sounds. And then a little bit of wetness as well from recording the bowl with the water. Moving into sort of the second idle sound, just more of the same. Kind of going through that second layer here, I'll highlight some more of the cooler sounds when it comes to that. First being this zombie noise. Again, that's just me. And then the this one I really like, which is sort of these like little flutter sounds. And that one was actually in the video itself. That's just the rubber treat holder. If I paste it here and then pitch it back up. You can hear that's just me sort of rubbing that and it's skidding across there. And that kind of fades in. It sounds really cool. And then this is one of my favorite sounds. This is from the rubber cover as well. I just think it has a really, really cool wet texture to it. That pitched up sounds like this. So as you can see, not really super cool on its own, but I think it sounds really cool in context. Kind of sounds like him flapping a little bit, some sort of wet part. And then moving on past that, we have the alert sound, which is kind of supposed to represent him being alerted to something in its presence. And to make that, we have a few different layers. Again, almost no processing on this outside of some, I guess I wanted to remove like a lot of the mid frequencies, probably just trying to make room for it. So here are the layers by itself. And then all together. Moving after that, we kind of have like the lead in to the first initial roar. To do that, I have some simple risers using my breath. And all that you can probably kind of tell on its own. That's just me using the Reaper pitch shift thing on some of the recordings I did of myself blowing into the mic, which I showed you earlier. So all I did was kind of pitch that upwards. I have some other things leading up into it down here at the bottom, which is just that rubber cover again. I just found a sample that I liked, which I thought sounded really, really cool. That normally would sound like this. Again, no processing except for the reverb, which I'll show you guys later. This is a reversed harp string, which you can kind of make it out from there, I think. Real simple. And then we get into the main roar. So when it comes to these main roars, I think the most important thing to do is sort of find a voice for your monster, at least for that part of the roar, and to not cloud it up too much. So for the initial, these are actually named wrong, because for the initial roar on this, I used the sponge that I went on the glass with like that, which sounds like this. Which you can kind of see I glued a bunch of stuff together there. So that's the main layer for the first initial roar, and then I just have a higher version of that as well, because I thought it sounded a little muffled. To go through the processing I have on this, you can see I have 3 things. Here's what it sounds like without the processing. With the processing, just a clipper. Saturn. Bring out some of those mids, and then some simple EQ. I actually barely even using that EQ. And then moving past that to the high section without the effects sounds like this. And then with the effects, we have the EQ. Getting rid of all that. Then we have Saturn. Bringing up those highs, and then we have OTT just to bring out those highs a ton as well. After that, I wanted an initial impact to sort of help out with the beginning of the sound. For that, I used the inner tire that I recorded earlier. Without effects, that sounds like this. And then pitched back down to what it originally was, sounds like this. So real simple, and then I just put Saturn on it to bring out some more of that high end. Didn't really do a whole lot, but maybe it does something. Then again, I have that rubber cover here just for texture. Again, just threw Saturn up there to bring out some sort of cool defining element with it. And then the second part of the roar that I kind of have as the backup voice is the dog poop container screech. So this ended up being what I used for my main vocal part of the second roar. But this is one of my favorite sounds that I was able to record. So if you take this and you put it over here, then I can kind of show you what it sounds like without any effects at all. So pitching this back to its normal state, you can see this might hurt your ears, so warning, but it sounds very screechy. But towards the end, I was able to kind of play with it and get a kaiju, like Godzilla type roar out of it, which sounds like this. So that trumpet sound was super good, and I knew I would be able to use it. So soloed, it sounds like this without any effects on. That does have a little bit of effects on up here, another Saturn. Turn that off. So that's on its own. And then including that Saturn as well as this decapitator. And then Saturn 2, OTT, squash, a little bit of filtering to bring out the mids, and then a imager to just kind of bring down that width. And that is the main part of the first roar. And then I also just have a quick bass section to kind of sort of give it some movement. And all that is this whistle that I recorded that I forgot to mention earlier. Oops, I just want to copy you. The whistle on its own sounds like this. Really not cool, but if you pitch it down a ton like that, you just get like a simple bass noise. Without my effects, sounds like this. And then all I did was put on like some Saturn again, decapitator, R bass to just really boost up the bass there, a clipper to make sure we're not going over, and then a tremolo. The tremolo is the main workhorse here. Without the tremolo, and then to give it that movement. And then we have a simple explosion sound effect. for the second part. Don't worry about this layer down here, but you see for this I really had to beef it up a lot. So the explosion on its own to give it that transient sounds like this. And then for the layers, I just have my washer impact without any effects. It sounds like this. Real simple. Chorus to give it some width. Didn't really do too much. Saturn, just to boost the frequencies. A transient shaper. More impact. Some EQ. Clean up the mids a little bit. Radiator. You can see that's really starting to have an effect. And then just some extra reverb to give it a little bit more of a tail. Really gives it that width. And then a door impact without any effects. With Saturn, R bass, a transient shaper, and then another transient shaper. I also found that putting multiple transient shapers rather than one and then sort of having them both at different attack levels can give you different sort of sounds. So that's something fun to experiment with. Then finally, last but not least, we'll move into our second sound, or our second roar. Now the main part of this roar, of course, is our dog poop screech, which I played for you before, which sounds like this. And again, that's just that screech, which I already showed you the effect chain for, and then a little bit of pitch modulation going up. I have a lower one at the beginning as well, which is the exact same. I just duplicated it and then pitched it down a little bit. I think here I have leather bag, yep, for texture. Just providing a little bit of texture there. And then my intro is again just that rubber cover. Really, really cool sound there. I definitely got lucky with that one. Pitching that back up sounds like this. So a little bit of a jarring sound there, but sounds pretty cool leading into it. And then here are the individual layers of the roar. Again, that's just that nipple cover again. Then leading in to after the roar, I kind of wanted to have it come back to sounding a little bit more natural again. So after the main part of the roar, I wanted to add in a little bit of flavor as well to tie it back into the pre-roar sound effects that I did. So in order to do that, I just threw a tremolo on it to make sure it kind of syncs up with the movement and added in a bunch of that stuff that I recorded before. So here's what it sounds like soloed. Here are the individual layers. And then just a normal tremolo that is automated here to go up to kind of get it to sync together. A little bit of a high note to end it on. I think that's what this is. That just adds a little subtle detail there. Kind of comes in to give it some more of its high end that it was missing before. And then just to tie it back in again at the beginning, real simple, just kind of duplicated a bunch of the stuff and scrolled around until I found something that I liked, such as the human breathing. After the breathing, I just added some more of the rubber cover with almost no processing on it. Again, nothing fancy. It's just that cover, but pitched down, moving it over here so you can see it without different effects. It was just this little snippet here. And then added a little bit of Saturn, which probably can be turned off. Just kind of boost the volume a little bit. And then I have a little bit more of my zombie sounds. That rubber spoon one more time. Same rubber spoon that we used earlier. All right, and so that's all the main layers of the sound. After that, it's really just the verbs that are left. So for my master track, went a little bit crazy on this, a little bit messy, but I just have a few different things. I have a little bit of width control, pretty much not using it. My first reverb, which is east-west spaces. Let me mute this, and then I can show you what it sounds like without any reverb at all. need that reverb to give it some space. Now, as you can see there, I'm just slightly automating the wet of the reverb to give space for the different roars as they go out, because you don't want it to get a little bit too wet in there. After that, just some simple EQ cleaning up, some more Saturn, which I'm actually not using, intelligent mix, which is just a compressor. Yeah, that is what it's called. R-bass, bring out more bass, who doesn't like more bass, and a clipper just to clean things up. After I put it through all of that stuff, I found that I wanted to have a delay to make it sound like he's even in a larger space. So to obtain that, all I did was route the main roar from the bottom here, so none of the extra effects, but the main roar, up to here, and then I just threw it in a delay and added some more reverb. So without this reverb pass, it sounds like this. And then with that reverb pass, sounds like this. So you can kind of hear the delay there to kind of give it more of that lead out that I really love. And then finally, at the very end, I have the master, which I called Kaiju Master. On that master, I just have a little bit of OTT to bring out the dynamic compression. Again, thought I was going to control the width, but I didn't end up doing that. A little bit of soothe just to ease out some of the harshness. A clipper, which I didn't end up needing to use. And just a little bit of harshness control from Pro MB. And then we'll play it one more time. All right. Thank you for watching.